Hi guys, this is Norm from the Board Game Museum, and I'm here with my good friend Bob Finn from the AGPI, and we're going to be starting the official show in a couple of minutes. But I figured I would just go ahead and start the stream now, just so people could see it and start to join in, so we could talk about this auction coming up. So I'll go ahead and just say, Bob, how are things going with you? I know you were in West Palm Beach. How's the weather over there?
It's nice. It's about 90 degrees today. So we normally play golf around 6 o'clock in the evening when it cools off a bit, but weather's great. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are getting out more now that things are starting to loosen up a little bit because of the virus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to see that you're doing well. Here's a question just before we start. Have you had any chance to play any interesting games that have caught your eye, or just an older one that you've played recently or anything?
Boy, I'm trying to think. We have a meetup group down here, and we haven't met since last year. And as a result, it's primarily myself and Suzanne Perlman. We spend time together, and we typically have enough games down here that I haven't ordered anything recently in the last few months. But we play games like Duel, which is an abstract strategy game with dice, and from about the 1976, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we do go online and play with friends in New York. What we do is we play games like Half Truth, which is a new game that came out last year, where you have a question with 6 answers. 3 are right and 3 are wrong. And you can bet on 1, 2, or 3 of your responses. So, usually you'll know the answer to 1 possibly, but to get 2 or 3 correct is more of a challenge. So you score more points. And the question is, do you just try to play steady and get a low number of points, or do you go and try to answer all 3? And that plays well online. We have another game called Times to Remember that was published in the 90s that basically you have to guess the date. There's 6 categories, and the question, you're asked a question about an event, and then you have to decide, okay, what date did that event happen? And you have different slices of the pie. You got 7 different pieces.
Mm-hmm.
One has 1 year, one has a span of 2 years, the other has a span of 3 years, all the way up to 7 years. So you have to get rid of all 7 slices to win the game. So if you think you know it, you'll try to get one of the slice 1 or slice 2. You'll cover 1 or 2 years. If it's something you're less sure about, you might try to guess a range of 6 or 7 years. That plays good if you're my age, where the events happen from 1950 to 1990.
Right.
Younger people have a more difficult time with it, but we play with people our own age, and we enjoy it.
That's good. I know definitely board games have the popularity of them gone up because of this virus. I know, like Trivial Pursuit, I could never play the original because so many of those questions are before my time.
Right.
But anyway, it is now about time to start, guys. Welcome to the Board Game Museum livecast. I'm here with Bob Finn from the AGPI, and today we're going to be talking about an online auction that's going to be going on, I believe it's Friday, and it's going to be hosted by a man named Bud Newman. He's going to be auctioning over 300 of his games, and these games are going to be dated from the 1880s to the early 1900s, so a lot of antique games here. So, hi, Bob, how are you? And he is from the AGPI, and I just thought I would ask Bob just to talk a little bit about his organization, and then we'll go on and talk about the auction coming up. So, Bob, how are you, sir?
Very good. Good to see you, Norm.
Good to see you, too.
Yeah. Well, the AGPI was formed back in the mid-'80s by Bruce Whitehill, and it's we're a group that has members from around the world, the bulk of which are in the U.S., and we are interested in old board games and their history, and we publish a quarterly magazine. 4 times a year that talks about old board games and old puzzles and their history and so forth. So we typically have a convention once a year. We have had to postpone the last 2. We were supposed to meet this month in Virginia, and unfortunately, because of the COVID, we've canceled it until next May.
Right.
We will be having an online get together later in the year, and of course, a lot of the members are at this auction in Pennsylvania coming up on Friday. So the auction has a viewing today and tomorrow, and then 9 a.m. Friday, the actual auction begins, both online and in person and over the phone.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the page here that has the auction in it here, and we're going to go. I'm going to basically just type in some of the games, and Bob's just going to talk about it a little bit here. So anyway, if you'd like to register, I put the link up in the chat room, but I'll put it in the description as well. But you can register to bid by just simply clicking on these links here. So we'll go ahead and start, and let's take a look at lot 183 to start here. All right. And we got the United States game.
Yeah, this is a United States game. This is a fairly large game. If you look at the description, you'll see that the size of it is, I think about, let's see, well, I'll let Norm show you some of the images here.
I'm just going to show the pictures.
Yeah, okay. And so if you close that picture for a minute,
okay.
I wanted to show something. Okay, click on the image.
On the image?
Okay. Yeah. Now don't click on it now.
All right.
Okay. Now you can see over there's a description about the game. It has a year that it was manufactured, around 1901. It has some information about the condition of the game. Some of these games, they're missing aprons. Some of them, the actual board game is made out of wood. Others are cataloged. This one is 34.5 inches by 17 5/8. So you can see that's a pretty large game. One of the things when you're looking at these games online is you don't really have an idea about the size of the game. I actually sent Norm a picture of Bud holding this particular game, so you can kind of see how big it is in relation to him.
Yeah, I have that picture. Yeah, it's a pretty big game.
Yeah.
That's impressive, though.
Yeah, this is probably an early version of Across the Continent, which Parker Brothers published for quite a few years, from the early 1900s until about the late 60s. You had a train, and you had to go and visit cities across the U.S. by rolling dice, and I have a couple of copies of it. I have a copy from the 1920s, as well as one that I received in the early 1960s. So,
wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Starting price right now is at $400, and the estimate is almost up to $1,200.
Yeah, they have a starting bid on every one of these, and they have a expected realized price. Right. It'll be interesting to see how these games sell, because there was an auction back in 1992. Herb Siegel got rid of his collection of games, and I know Bud purchased over 24 of the games and put it into his collection, and many of those games were up for sale on this auction, and the prices went for quite a bit of money. They went for more than the estimate in most cases. And and so it's 30 years later, 29 years later, and I'm wondering, how will the new generation of people bid on the game? Will the prices increase over the 92 price, or in the case of some collectibles, the price actually has gone down?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. That is a beautiful looking game. It's just this one, and we've got a lot to go through too.
Yeah.
Do you want to go on the next one?
Sure.
191. All right. Here we got Billy Possum. And,
yeah, this is kind of an interesting game historically. I don't know if you know anything about the teddy bear and how it got its name, but
I was just reading about that.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt, he went bear hunting back in 1902, and he was the only one in the group that did not bag a bear. And so anyway, one of his assistants found the bear and tied it up to a tree and brought Teddy Roosevelt over there to shoot it.
Oh, how funny.
And Teddy says, well, there's no sport in that.
Right.
So he refused to shoot the bear. And anyway, that's how the story went. And a toy manufacturer came out with a bear, and they called it the teddy bear. So that's how the teddy bear started. And then in 1908, after Roosevelt was out of office, you had President Taft in there.
Right.
And he had a thing that was called Possum and taters. It was a big meal that he threw, a political meal. And basically, he was very famous for what they called the possum feast. And so the toy manufacturers decided, well, you know what? We should come out with the possum stuffed animal to replace the teddy bear. And so they came out with Billy Possum. And so this game came out right about the same time. And you can see there's a little girl standing in front of her Christmas tree, holding up a possum. And
holy cow.
if you look at the very bottom left, you'll see that the teddy bear is down there, and the teddy bear has tears in its eyes.
Yeah.
Thinking he's being replaced by the possum.
Oh, wow. And short directions, too.
Yes.
I'd say this game's starting is at 150, and it's estimated could go for up to 500. Wow. I love the artwork on these games.
Yeah, that's what everybody buys them for. Unfortunately, the games don't play all that well.
Right.
There's a few like Chivalry, which is a precursor to Camelot that's out there that plays well. The Man in the Moon game you can play online still today, but most of them are not. They're basic dice games, race games. You roll the dice, you spin the spinner, and move your man around.
Yeah, it's basically roll and move or spin and move.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could definitely see why people would get it for the artwork because they are old. And
yes.
That's beautiful. All right, moving on to 205. We got the yacht race game from McLaughlin from 1887.
Yeah, that's a really nice game, especially the yachts. I mean, it comes with really cool pieces.
Look at that.
And, it's a nice big board. It's a 8-piece fold-out board. And, once again, it's a race game. You use a spinner and so forth. But I think it shows very well. And
looks like a really nice game.
Yeah. And yacht games and racing games were very popular back in the late 1890s and so forth. I have a Parker Brothers one called Race for the Cup from that time period that I've turned into a wrapped canvas.
Yeah, do you have that wrapped canvas that you showed me?
Yeah, I've got a few here. Let me grab the ceiling one.
Yeah, what I believe Bob does is he'll take like the covers of the game and he'll put it onto a wrapped canvas, and they look really nice. Check it out, y'all.
Okay, here's the Parker Brothers game, Race the Cup. I'm trying to make sure you can see the whole thing.
Yeah, wow.
But you can see it's a pretty good sized game. And
man.
So what I did, I have about 100 Parker Brother games where I have the covers, the full size covers, and I scanned them in a large flatbed scanner, and then made, in some cases, wrapped canvases. I did another game. I made a jigsaw puzzle.
That was just beautiful.
Yeah. So,
how many of those do you have now?
well, I have 100 Parker Brother covers from 1890 to about 1905.
100. Wow.
That I bought in a big lot. It was basically from a salesman's catalog that was produced back in the early 1900s, and they'd have a salesman go into a dry goods store with this catalog, and they'd have the full size game there in the catalog, so that the vendor could see how big it was and what it looked like. And anyway, I was lucky enough to get that. Everything had been separated out, and so I have the actual full size prints.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
I might have to do that with some of mine. All right, let's see. Okay, we're gonna go to 205. Wait, we did 205. I'm sorry. Let me 209. All right. All right. The Yale-Harvard game.
Yeah, there's a lot. What's nice about this auction and the way they set it up is that they group the games that are similar together.
Yeah.
And so, there's about, I don't know, 7 or 8 football games, and then there's about a dozen or so baseball games, and so everything is kind of grouped by category. And this is a neat game,
Wow.
kind of a strategy game, and it's kind of neat. It's a wooden board, and you actually have a tray that I'm trying to think if that pulls out. No, I think that's separate.
Looks like it pulls out.
Yeah, some of them actually have drawers that pull out with the game pieces on it. I'm not sure. We'd have to look at the description. It says side drawer, so it is a drawer on the side of the game that has the wooden pieces in it.
Man, this is from 1894, and they were already being innovative with these things. Wow.
Yeah. George S. Parker was the one who designed most of the games, and this actually kind of looks a bit like the Chivalry game.
Yeah,
I'm sure it plays different.
Yeah, that looks really neat.
Yeah.
It could go up to 1,200 on that one. Wow.
Yeah, and of course, so there's no ceiling on what it can go for. That's why it's really hard to come up with a real value on these games.
Yeah,
because it only takes 2 people to bid up the price of a game.
right.
If you and I wanted on it, you wanted to think more than I did, you might go up to $2,000. So.
Yeah, well, that's a nice looking game.
Yeah.
All right, let's try another one. 239. All right, this is
Okay.
Major League Baseball.
Yeah. Now this came in 2 different versions. This is the first version, and it's basically identical to the second version. The only difference is the top cover, and unfortunately they didn't show a picture of it. But the top cover has photographs of a bunch of Hall of Famers. If you look, I think Hornus Wagner, it tells you here, Walter Johnson, Hornus Wagner, Christy Mathewson are on it.
Wow.
And it's a neat game. It was manufactured in Philadelphia, and it's got that cool spinner. And now the one I have, well, it's in very good condition. It's in excellent condition. Unfortunately, it's missing the pieces.
Yeah.
Whereas this one has, I believe, pretty much all the pieces to it.
Wow, that is really neat.
Yeah, it's a cool game. And I said, it's depending upon the one you buy, you either have a green cover with the name of the game on it, or you have a cover with the photographs of the actual players.
Wow. That is really neat.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's take out another one here.
Okay.
Number 249, I think. Okay. Hey, Bob, if you ever get around to it, you should do some reviews of some of these older games if you have them.
Well, a lot of them don't play that well, but yeah, I've got a lot of games I probably need to review.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's doing games like from this time period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's what is this? Another baseball game?
Baseball game from the 1880s. And those games go for quite a bit. One of the collectors in the AGPI wrote a book on baseball games. And it was amazing how much the games go for, because it's a collectible not only for game collectors, but also for baseball collectors. And so they can easily go for quite a bit of money.
Yeah, and it's really cool too, because you kind of get a sense of the time period when you look at the artwork and everything. So yeah, that's really cool. It's this one's starting at $1,000.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah,
that's really neat. Wow. All right, let's try another one.
Sure.
Let's see. Did I do this one? I might have to double check. Make sure.
This is
okay.
Okay, this is Zimmer's game of baseball. This is probably the most highly collectible game, baseball game in the auction.
Wow.
It has the names of actual players, many of whom are in the actual the Hall of Fame. And there's only about 7 or 8 copies of this game still around. So you can see the photographs of the players.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through them here. Wow. I guess the mustache was a pretty popular thing back then.
I guess so.
Yeah. And let's see, is that the box cover, I guess?
That's the box cover. It's pretty tattered.
Yeah.
It's the board game, the board that's actually, cool part.
Yeah.
And you can see the bidding is expected to go high on this one.
Yeah. The starting's at $5,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
And somewhere between 10 to 15 is the estimate. So.
Wow. It's just really cool to look at these older games from back in the day, because you really get a sense of what what things were like back then.
They're having a viewing of all the items today and tomorrow. It's in the Philadelphia area. You have to call to get a reservation, but it's worth going to and looking at, because these games, you won't see them again. Many of these games, some will end up in museums. Others will end up in private collections. And it's your one chance in a lifetime to see some of these games.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, all right, let's take a look. I might have gone to this one already. Yeah, I did. Okay.
Now that one is the other. This is the one I have. So I was just showing you that you can see the game is identical. There's nothing different. Okay. It's just the cover.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. And this one's in a little better condition because it's a little newer.
Let's see.
And you can see the price is a lot different. It's going to go for $300 to $600. The other one is going closer to $1,200.
Yeah. Was this like a later edition of it? Was this one?
Yeah. They came out with 2 editions. And the later one, they took the pictures of the players off the cover. So, anyway.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Let's try, okay. I'll try number 253 here. See what we got. All right, got another baseball game.
Yeah, this is a McLaughlin Brothers baseball game. And this character appeared on quite a few of the baseball games. Because McLaughlin published quite a few baseball games. They used this guy on the cover numerous times.
The guy right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the batter. And some of the games were very small. I have a small one with him on the cover. Others were larger. So that's why I said you really need to take a look at the description to figure out just how big the game is. In this case, it's 15 by 10.
Man.
One thing I should also mention before we go any further is there is a buyer's premium on everything.
A buyer's premium?
Yeah, buyer's premium. What that means is it's 26%. if you're bidding via the internet. And so whoever gets the winning bid, let's say something sells for $100, there's a 26% buyer's premium added to the price. So you want to understand that when you're bidding on a game, that you're going to pay an extra 26% above your winning bid. In addition, unless you're tax exempt, you'll be paying 8% Pennsylvania sales tax on it. And you'll be paying for shipping, which is not trivial.
Right.
So, years ago, I had a friend that worked at Sloan's, which is an auction house in the Washington, D.C. area. Mm-hmm. And there were no what they call buyer premiums. And it wasn't until about early 1990s that Christie's and Sotheby's put a 15% buyer's premium on stuff in their auctions. And the higher price stuff had a 10% buyer's premium. And unfortunately, ever since the 90s, the price has been going up.
Yeah.
So the thing that's kind of, amazing about that is the auction house takes about 30% from the seller and gets 26% from the buyer. So they're getting over half the money.
Wow.
From the auction. So if you want to get into a field where you can make some money, be an auctioneer.
Yeah, that's make a note, everyone.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we ready to move on to the next one, Bob.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, number 278. Did I type it in right? Let me see. Let me try again.
Okay.
Here we go. Cross the Sea.
Okay. Yeah, let me see. This is a McLaughlin Brothers game.
Here's the back of it.
Yeah. This one I think was kind of cool because of the pieces. There were these wooden blocks that were covered in paper. And once again, it was a simple game of spin and move your man around the board. But if you go on the website where they are holding the auction, in many cases they'll actually show the instructions to the game, and so you get an idea of how the thing is played.
Yeah, I know this has some instructions here on the box.
Yeah. Most of the time, the instructions are on the bottom of the box or on the bottom of the lid.
Yeah, that's a nice looking game too. All these games really look nice. This one's 25 by 14.
Yeah,
big, and then 150 for this to start. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat.
So,
all right.
Let's see. Guys. We got a little of. Why don't you go to 276?
276. Okay.
Okay. I wanted to show you one example of the older board games. These games were basically they're flat and they fold up into a slipcase, and so they started producing these over in Europe in the late 1600s. And eventually they started producing them in the U.S. as well. And the first one in the U.S. they started in 1822 was the first one they published over here. And so there's about a dozen of these linen board games in the auction. And they're interesting. We're going to have an interview with one of the AGPI members who collects these linen games. He has about 300 of them, and he'll be publishing a book soon on it. But they're interesting, and they mount well on a wall.
Yeah, and these basically fold up and go into this little slip thing over here.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So wow. So they even had portable games back then. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
That's very neat.
Mm-hmm.
Fully open, it's big too, and starting at $600 for this one.
Yeah.
Wow. I love the artwork. That is just fantastic to look at.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
All right, let's try 282. This is the next one. Oh, the World's Fair.
Yeah, this is a cool game. They produced this game for a number of years. They changed it a little bit, and they came out with a new one for each World's Fair. It was a fairly large game. You moved around the board, visiting different places in the World's Fair, using a spinner and pawns.
Right.
I have one here from the early. I'm putting it up so you can take a look at it.
Yeah, let me grab you.
Oh, there you go. This one is from the early 1900s. I think this was the St. Louis World's Fair. And once again, I made a wrapped canvas out of it.
That's nice.
So, but it is kind of interesting how they use the same game, for 15 years or so. All they did was change the graphics depending on where it was being held. So
that's really neat, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. This one's going to 200. Fairly good size. Beautiful artwork again. Wow.
Yeah.
I can see why these things go for so much, just because of the age and the way the artwork on them are just,
Yeah.
Just innate.
The most desirable ones are typically made by McLaughlin Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Also Singer, and of course Parker Brothers. I would say probably 90% of the games were made by those three, as well as one other one. I can't think of it. Singer and.
Oh yeah, McLaughlin I think was one of the first ones, weren't they?
Well, they started. The first one was actually Milton Bradley. He started in the 1850s. George S. Parker started in around 1884, and that's about the same time McLaughlin started producing games. McLaughlin was in New York. George Parker was in Massachusetts, as was Milton Bradley. Milton Bradley's not as well. It's not as collectible, even though they are collectible, but they're not. Usually, the prices don't reach the same level. So,
yeah.
Okay, this is Waterloo, and I have this particular game back in Colorado. The cover of it, and it's kind of neat. It's Napoleon, and I think there's an image of Napoleon, or I don't know, maybe not.
I'll look for him.
But anyway, it's another one of those games that has a pieces.
It has a pull-out thing too here with the pawn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ow.
And the inside cover is kind of cool too. If you click on the second image, there you can see the drawings of the various people.
Wow.
So
that is just so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Let's see. And this one's going starting at 150 for this one here.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. What number was this? 290.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta keep up here. All right. This one.
There's two games here. One is called Chivalry, that was produced for years. This was actually invented by George S. Parker, and it's basically the game of Camelot with some modifications to it. Camelot was produced from, I guess, the 1930s through about 1970. It's a abstract strategy game. It's a challenging game, very good game. So if you're looking for a game that you want to play, this is one that you might enjoy if you like those type of games.
Yeah. Yeah, those two guys look like they're enjoying it.
Yeah. And of course, it comes with another game, the game of quoits.
Quoits and Kings.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with how it's played, but
huh. That one's have rules on here.
Okay.
King's Quoits. Yeah, they got the rules on here.
Yeah.
Let's see. And
It
that
might be, I don't know. It could be something like crokinole, but I'm not sure. I mean, you have discs that you're trying to put into the board, is what it looks like.
yeah.
You see the pins. I'm not sure how that said, if that's just the racetrack or.
Oh.
Yep. But you'll need to read the instructions.
It's a. Yeah, for two, it starts at 150 for these two.
Yeah.
It's nice. Okay. All right, we'll move on. Let's try. So did we do this one yet? 292. Mansion of Happiness.
Okay. This is a McLaughlin Brothers game from 1885, and this was produced for a long time. Actually, I think Milton Bradley produced this game in the 1850s. So Milton Bradley, McLaughlin, as well as Parker Brothers, I think, all three of them produced this game. I actually have this game complete in my home. It's, once again, a race game, but it's a game that you can oftentimes find for sale. You can see it's starting bid's $100 on it, and it's a good sized game, fairly large game.
Yeah.
And it's attractive, but it's because it was in publication for such a long period of time, it's easier to find this game than some of the others.
I'm really surprised at just how good a condition it is for being over 100 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So most of these games are just spin and move. They just kind of change the theme, I guess, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes they're teaching children moral values. They're more instructive and designed for children as opposed to adults.
Yeah.
As a result, there wasn't a whole lot of effort put into the design of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing too many worker placement games in the 1800s.
Right. Good luck on that.
That's okay though. But they look beautiful though.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. The Little Firemen game.
Yeah, this is a cute little game. I think the graphics are cool on the cover.
Yeah.
The game itself is a race game, but because of the graphics and so forth, it should sell for quite a bit. I think this has a couple of metal playing pieces with it too. If you go to the board and look at the board on the top left, on the playing board, yeah. Some of these games, have lead playing pieces. Others have pewter. Others have wood. So it's also, you'll want to read the description of the game so that you understand what kind of pieces come with it, if there are any.
Let me see if it says. I don't see where it says where the pieces are here.
Well, on the description of the game. Yeah.
Paper cover wood frame, 2 indicators, and 2 metal game pieces. Wow.
And see, this one, it tells you the provenance. This came from the Siegel collection, Herb Siegel collection, back in 1992. And so if you get the Siegel catalog and look at the price the winning bid was, that'll give you an idea of what the thing sold for in 1992 in auction.
Yeah.
That auction was held in New Hope, Pennsylvania. Herb lived in New Hope, and Bud lived in New Hope. So the game didn't move very far, just from one house to another. And there's about 24 board games, at least, in this auction that came from the Siegel auction in 1992, 29 years ago.
Wow. And so is he basically reselling the game that he got, I guess?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can't take it with you,
Right.
And so, what happens is they say the first 50 years of your life are spent collecting, and the second 50 years of your life are spent getting rid of your collection. And so there's a lot of truth to that. When you get in your 70s and your 80s, Herb was 75 when he got rid of his. Mm-hmm. You get to the point where, a lot of times your family doesn't have much of an appreciation for the collection. They're not into, collecting board games, and they would like you to get rid of the games before they inherit them. And so as a result, it's typical that people in their 70s and 80s sell at least part of their collection. And in this case, they're using an auction house, Pook and Pook, in Pennsylvania. They have an auctioneer. We have a picture of him as well, Noel Barrett. You'll probably recognize him if you watch Antiques Roadshow. He's been on there. He's running the auction. He ran the Siegel auction in '92. He's done a number of game auctions over the years. And that's kind of what he specializes in, toys and games. And anyway, he'll be.
Well, considering it's been over 20 years since an auction has happened like this, so I could definitely see a lot of people being interested in this.
Yeah, they don't happen very often. Back in '87 was the first one that I was aware of that took place in New Hampshire when Lee Dennis sold her games, and they went for a lot more than people thought they were going to go for. The highest price in that auction was $5,000 for the Man in the Moon game.
Wow!
And then a few years later, that was '87. Then in '92. We had the Siegel auction in Pennsylvania. Paul Fink, when he passed away around 2014 or so, there was an auction of his games. His games were covered a bigger span of time. It covered from the 1800s to about World War II. Now, this one I have at home as well.
Cakewalk?
The Cakewalk, yeah. This was interesting. There's a lot of black games that came out by Parker Brothers. Some of them weren't politically correct, as far as this one isn't too bad. But the black collectibles make this game, one that people try to collect. Once again, it's a simple race game, but it has some unique artwork on the cover.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you get an idea of the styles too when you look at these.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neat. Very neat. All right, let's go to the next one here.
Sure.
Got that was that one. Okay. All right, let's try number 320.
Okay.
All right. Bulls and Bears. I think you were talking about this one.
Yeah, this game here is one of the most valuable games ever. It came out from McLaughlin in 1883, and at the time of the Siegel sale auction back in 1992, it was believed to be the only copy of the game in existence.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, but shortly after the auction, a second copy of the game showed up in New York City. So there are at least 2 copies of the game. And it's some real interesting history about the game.
Put a lot of pictures on here too. Well, how does this game work?
I don't know how it worked, but the people that are depicted in the corners of the game. Let's see. Let me take a look at my notes here in this.
Let's see if we had any on the top here.
There are cartoons from Joseph Kepler and Franklin Oper satirizing robber barons. So what happened was there was a panic in 1873 on the stock exchange, and a lot of people lost a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And Jay Gould, Vanderbilt, and Russell Sage were 2 of the people involved in that scandal. And they're shown on the corners of the game. And up at top at the middle of the game, you can see they're fleecing the sheep, okay? Mm-hmm. And that's meaning fleecing the public. That's what that's supposed to represent. Huh. Where they're shearing the sheep, they're fleecing the public. So there's a lot of periodic humor depicted on that game. But this game, when it sold in the Siegel auction, the winning bid was a little over $30,000. And when the second piece was discovered in New York, I know they adjusted the price so that they didn't have to pay the full $30,000.
Yeah, they're starting on this one $6,000.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what it goes for, because a lot of people would love to have this game.
Yeah, it's being as rare as it is, like only a couple of copies.
Yeah.
I'll be interesting to see. I might do a live cast just on to see what these games actually went for.
Well, actually, what you can do, I mean, you can go online, whether you register or not, at the auction site, and you can watch the auction and see what prices. They'll also have the prices later, but just to show you how quick the auction moves, about 100 lots go within an hour. So this isn't a ho-hum auction. You better know what you're going to bid, because you can actually put your bid in today if you want, just like on eBay. So the auction moves, and it moves quickly. You got people bidding live in Pennsylvania. You got people on the phones placing bids, and you got people on the internet placing bids. But you just need to know that this isn't something where you place an auction. There's also bidding increments that it goes in. If it's a low bid, let's say it's a $100 bid, the increments are $25 between bids. Yeah. When you get to $500, it's $50 between bids, and so forth. So the increments do go up as the prices go up.
And this one's on bidsquare.com, is that right?
Yeah, bidsquare.com is running the internet portion of it. There's also a second internet site that's carrying the auction. I don't have it in front of me. I'm registered on Bid Auction.
Okay.
Or Bidsquare.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, now this particular one is a very common game. The reason I wanted to show this game is the game of Fishpond. It was produced by Milton Bradley, Parker Brothers, McLaughlin, Singer, and others. And because it was one of the most common games, you can find it fairly easily. You can probably find it on eBay. And it's very simple. You have these cardboard fish that you put in the grid, and then you have a little fishing pole with the hook on it, and you pull up the fish, and it has a value on it. And then the more higher numbers, the higher your score, of course, is the winning score. So you can see this one. The bidding starts at $75, and so if you just want to bid on a game, you may want to bid on some of the cheaper games. There are some lots that have smaller games and card games in them that you can get for a more reasonable price.
Yeah, so 75 is like the lowest I've seen that we've looked at so far.
Yeah.
Fishpond.
Yeah, Fishpond. There's magnetic Fishpond, and there's a whole bunch of Fishponds, but they all have the same
idea,
same way to play it.
That's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me see if I might have done this one already. Okay, good. All right, 341. We have Yellow Kid 10-pin.
Yeah, this one is going to go for quite a bit as well. Yellow Kid was the first comic strip produced in the U.S. And it was produced in the 1890s, and it depicted basically a Chinese boy, and there were games and puzzles that were produced with the Yellow Kid as the character. And people collect Yellow Kid. They collect the strip. They collect all kinds of things that were produced back in the 1890s with the theme of the Yellow Kid. So you can see it. This one has a high starting price, as well as a high estimate. And it's just a simple bowling green. I mean, it's not even,
nothing fancy, just
nothing
bowling.
fancy. Yeah. So
you got little bowling balls there too.
Bowling balls you're trying to knock the ice down.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. 340. Let's see, did I do this one? 341. This is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I did do this one. Okay. 342.
Now,
right.
in addition to games, there's a lot of puzzles available in the auction. And this one here happens to be the Yellow Kid puzzle. And if you are into jigsaw puzzles, there's a lot of old jigsaw puzzles in this auction. I don't know the exact amount, but there's probably 2 or 3 dozen puzzles. This puzzle blocks as well. And so.
Wow, look at that. That is fascinating.
Yeah.
I know. I think you said he has about 400 items up for auction.
Well, he has more than that. There's that's when it comes to games and puzzles, there's about 300, a little over 300. But you've got a lot of other items. I think there's a total of 100 and I got to take a look here. About 180 lots of different artwork, and there's a cigar store in Indian. There's a gambling wheel, and there's a lot of artwork and pottery pieces that are going to be sold in the auction as well. So
I saw some of them. Some of them were like figurines of some kind, I think.
Yeah, yep. There's figurines, and there's going to be a second auction, I think, in September, of Bud's stuff. I don't know in that one how many games there may or may not be in the auction, but I know he has a second auction coming up later in the fall.
That'll be exciting to watch.
Yeah. Now, this is an interesting game, The Wizard of Oz by Parker Brothers. And this is the more desirable one because in this particular game, the playing pieces are made out of pewter. So you can see them there. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The later editions of this game went to wooden pieces. But this was the first edition of the Parker Brothers game, The Wizard of Oz. And
Dorothy looks a lot younger in the box than she did.
Yeah, this is probably before the movie ever came out.
Wow. So this was starting at 300 here.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are just watching, a lot of these games are pretty big size. Like 19 is like one of the smaller sizes I've seen. A lot of these games are like about 24 inches in length. They're pretty big. But yeah, definitely fascinating to look at these games. Okay, let's see. I'm going to type in the next number here. Let's see if this is the right one. All right. Let's see. Nope. All right. 348 or 346. Is this a game? Well,
nope, this is a puzzle.
Oh, okay.
This is let me see. This is trying to look at what the. Oh, you may have put the wrong number in. It's 346.
Oh, 346.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, this is another example of what's in the auction here.
Yeah, that's Punch and Judy games. There's a whole bunch of them. Okay, this is the Man in the Moon game.
All right.
This came in two. This is about McLaughlin Brothers, and it actually came in 2 different versions. This is the more desirable one with the Man in the Moon graphics on the cover.
Wow.
The second version had pixies on the moon, little pixie characters. The contents of the inside of the box are the same. Once again, it's an abstract strategy game. You can play it online. I have a review of this game on the AGPI YouTube video.
Wow.
So this particular game went for $5,000 in 1987 in the Siegel auction.
5,000.
So, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes.
I saw you that it looked like it had dropped in price. Is there a reason why it had dropped?
Well, that's what their expected price is. I mean, other than the graphics, it's hard to say what you would be attracted to the game. And one of the things we're going to find out is are the prices, increasing or decreasing on collectible board games, antique games. When they had it before, they didn't have the internet in 1992 for auctions. Mm-hmm. So the only way you could participate was to be there live or to call in on the phone.
Right.
And there was a few hundred people at the auction, but there was a handful of people that bought a lot of the games in the auction. There was some concern about the fact that many of the people that bought the games were 60 years of age and over. It wasn't younger people.
Right.
And the reason for it being is that they were just getting outbid. And but that generation won't be around for this one. And it'll be interesting to see, Norm, what your generation and my generation are going to pay for these games as opposed to what was paid 30 years ago.
I'd definitely be curious to see that, because I know a lot of these games go up and down in value. I know some of the games I've got have gone up, and I'll be curious to see, because I know games like some of the 80s games have gone up in value, but yeah, I'm curious to see about these antique ones that are over 100 years old, how they would do too. I'm curious.
Yeah.
We'll find when's the auction? Friday?
Auction is Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Okay. And
I'll make a note of that.
It'll be gone. It'll go quickly, probably over in less than 3 hours. So you can, if you're really interested in bidding on something, I would recommend putting a bid in now.
Yeah.
So that your bid is in there. There's nothing here in this auction that I have to have. Right. When you get to be my age, you're more concerned about what am I going to do with all this stuff as opposed to accumulating more. And but there's a few pieces I'll put a low bid on, and if I get lucky, maybe I'll get it. But I'm not expecting to have any winning bids on this auction.
Well, I'll make a quick mention of this. I think a lot of people are making board game channels now. That there's been a huge increase that I've seen. Because I think board gaming has become more of a hobby because of the pandemic, and I think more people are taking an interest. But yeah, a lot of them are the newer games and things like that. But yeah, I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this. I really, hopefully, it'll do really well. Here we go to 362. Let's see what we got. Game of hide and seek.
Yeah, this is another McLaughlin Brothers game. It's a big game. It's a cool little game. I mean, you have these little wooden cups and pieces for it. The graphics on the cover are neat. The entire board is made out of wood, with wooden playing pieces.
Oh, the wooden board, yeah.
And then you got a spinner. It's I think it's just a nice, large, game that is representative of McLaughlin.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. A lot of them have the clown faces on there. Is there a particular? What was the story behind those?
I don't know. I mean, it's you see if you look at the cover, there's a bunch of clown faces on the cover. So I'm not sure. Hide and seek. I don't know.
Yeah, they're probably high. Yeah. See, that's okay. That one's going for 150. All right, let's see. Okay, we got a few more here. Let me try 408. All right, the game of detective.
Yeah, this game will probably go for quite a bit. It's a cool theme to it. Nice puzzle pieces, game pieces that come with it. It's I think it's by Singer, so it's one of the more scarce games, not particularly easy to find. No, this is a Bliss game.
Yeah.
So Bliss and Singer games go for quite a bit. So I think this
it's going for. I know it's starting at $750. So yeah.
Yeah.
This one looks like. Does this one kind of play like Clue? Do you know?
I honestly don't know, and I'm not sure they have the. Oh, there's the instructions, but you really can't. They don't give you the full instructions there to be able to read it beforehand.
That's all right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think this is the next number, 416.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Now, I had the cover of this game, and I made it into one of the covered canvases. And it's Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders. So you actually have an image there of Teddy Roosevelt.
There he is.
Yeah, leading the charge. It's a Parker Brothers game. And
wow.
So
I tell you, I love the artwork on these games. I mean, it's just so fascinating to see. Yeah, that's beautiful. This one's about 200 to start with. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's the last one that I have listed. Number 440. Barnum's Greatest Show on Earth.
Yeah, this is a P.T. Barnum. You can see a picture of him there in the upper right corner. And it came with a tent and playing pieces.
Wow.
And and then, there's some additional pictures there that kind of show you some of the instructions. And
yeah, there's the instructions.
Yeah, and that's what it looks like when it's put together, where you have the animals underneath the big top.
Huh, wow.
And that's the setup of the game.
An old 3D board game.
Yeah, exactly right. And what's interesting is I don't have that particular copy, but I have a similar copy. It's called Menagerie. Okay. And you can see it still has a picture of P.T. Barnum on the bottom corner of the game. And it's a big game. But it was similar. It had animals and so forth. This was a Parker Brothers game. I'm not sure if the other one was Parker Brothers or McLaughlin. It was Parker Brothers. So he produced that game under a similar version of that game under different names.
Huh, wow.
So
this one's going for like 400 too. This is so fascinating, Bob. It's funny. Like when I first started doing this channel, all I really did was board games. But since I've done this, I'm discovering so much, and talking with you has been like it's opened up a whole new world almost. Just when you see these things, it's just beautiful to look at. Wow. All right. Well, that was the last lot that I had. Did you have any other things you wanted to show?
Well, I can show you a few of the wrapped canvases that I've done.
Oh yeah.
This one is called the Game of Red Riding Hood. And I made a wrapped canvas of it. The top is the cover of the game, and the actual playing board is underneath it. And in addition to doing a wrapped canvas, I also had a jigsaw puzzle cut of the cover. It was a laser cut jigsaw puzzle. You can buy it in Colorado, or you can buy it online. It's made by Joyful Nook, and they did a very cool job with doing figurine pieces and the outline of the puzzle. I don't know if you have that up or not.
I've got your you holding the game.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a website that actually shows the puzzle for sale. If you are interested, I'll give Norm the link to the.
Yeah, send me the link. I'll post it.
Yeah.
They weren't happy to post it.
And I said, I've got about a dozen wrapped canvases down here. in Florida.
Right.
I needed to put some decorations up in the villa, and that's what I ended
That
up
would
doing. So
That would be fantastic. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay, guys. Well, those were all the lots that we have. Just to wrap up, Bob, what information can you give us on the auction as far as where people can go? I know we mentioned the website earlier, but just to wrap up, I know it's bidsquare.com and you can register. And there was another site too. I think Pook and Pook Incorporated.
yeah, Pook and Pook is actually the auction house,
Okay.
and BidSquare is the internet auction site, and there's another internet auction site I'll give you as well. You can use either one. If one of the things you may want to do is buy the catalog for this auction. I've done that on the bigger auctions like this. This catalog is $40, and you can buy it online, and they'll ship it to you free. So if you just go to the Pook and Pook auction site, that's where you can order the catalog. The catalog's already been printed. A lot of people that are bidding on it already have the catalog.
All right.
So, as I said, you can't just show up for the auction. You need to get registered for it. There's a limited number of seats in the auction house. And if you want to do a viewing, you have to call them up and arrange for the viewings that are being held today and tomorrow. And they're not actually being held in New Hope. It's a town nearby, Downingtown. So that's where the actual auction house is located.
Okay. And it looks like the auction starts at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time down in Pennsylvania. So if any of you all are interested, I'll put the websites in the description, but this one is the auction house, which is the Pook and Pook. And then there's bidsquare.com, which has the items listed there too. But anyway, guys, feel free to check it out. It's just fascinating, very least to look at. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how these prices are going to go with these really older vintage games. So, Bob, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I would encourage people to go out to the site and look, because there's a lot more games out there than we could show in an hour.
Sure.
So I tried to pick out some ones that I knew a little bit about.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for showing us those. And hopefully you guys will get a good turnout, and this gentleman will be able to make some good money selling these.
Yeah.
So, Bob, it's great talking to you, man. And I hope you have a great day and enjoy your time in West Palm Beach.
Thanks, Norm.
You're welcome.
Great.
Guys, thanks for showing up and joining us. We will talk to y'all later. Take care.